I'm going to come at this from two almost polar opposite opinions. The first opinion I'm going to bring to you is my unproven conspiracy theory that Vegas is somehow in control. I'm going to remind you of how I've laid that possible conspiracy theory out in the past and how what happened yesterday is a prime perfect example of that conspiracy theory. And then I'm going to lay out a second opinion for those of you who don't want to believe in a conspiracy theory or don't think it's provable or think it's just cockapoopy. That's fine. I can handle that, by the way. I have another alternative discussion for that group of people. So hear me out, bear with me, here we go. Now, in terms of the Vegas thing, what happened yesterday was exactly what I have said was the manner in which they control the games. What I said, I've said it in live stream. I have another video out about the NHL. People want to use the argument that even the player himself said it was holding. I know it was holding. I know it was holding. You know it was holding. Everybody knows it was holding. That's not the point. The point, and this is how it's done. The point of the call is not that it was holding, because holding like that, you can find holding like that on 70, 80, maybe a higher percentage of man-to-man coverage plays in the NFL. You can find something like that where there's a little touch on the back, a little tiny jersey pull. You can find something like that on at least, and that's conservatively, at least 70% of those plays. So when a call is made, somebody can point to it and say, well, it was holding, because technically, in quotes, by the book, yes, it was holding. But that's not how the games are called. The games are not called technically by the book, because if they were, there would be holding, lined up in the neutral zone, delay a game. There would be all manner of penalties on every play, okay? The referees are supposed to basically mind their own business unless they really feel the need, like this one particular thing had such an egregious effect on things, or earlier in the game, they set the tone, no different than they do in hockey, okay? If you're letting that go in the first quarter, in the second quarter, in the third quarter, exactly what he said. He said, yeah, it was a little tug, but I kind of thought they might let it go. I'm paraphrasing. That's because the referees really hadn't been calling that. They had been letting them play. And everybody who's played sport, everybody who's been involved in sport, that's usually how it should go. Is the referee's going to let you know early on, whether it's football, hockey, whatever it is, we're going to call it tight, or we're going to kind of let you play and let everybody, there's going to be minor infractions, because the way the rule book is written, there's going to be minor infractions on every play, multiple infractions. There's no avoiding it. The rule book is airtight, but the interpretation and implementation by the referees is not supposed to be. There's a human element in there where there's supposed to be a manner of, this is the proper time to make that call, and I have illustrated to these players that I'm letting them play. We're not going to make these ticky-tacky by the book calls. And then what ends up happening is, out of the blue, in the middle of the most important part of the games, we see this time and time and time again, over and over, out of nowhere, like yesterday, last night, boom. There's a holding call that literally makes it so all Kansas City really had to do was take a knee. I know they ran the one play and slid before the guy scored, but all they really had to do was take a couple knees, kick the field goal, win the Super Bowl. Nobody is arguing that I guess there are some people that would say, it wasn't holding. I don't even need to make that argument. How it is being done, how the games are being manipulated, is the referees, certain referees, okay, are tasked, in my opinion, I'm just going to say I'm going to call it Vegas, but you could say by the powers that be, whoever wants whoever to win, okay? The point is that certain referees are tasked with significantly increasing or decreasing the percentage of the odds of one team winning or one team losing. And then on the occasion that they have the opportunity to make a call that can increase the odds infinitesimally, like the call last night, a referee that is somehow corrupted will make that call. And then those of us who can see the corruption will call it out. And then the people that cannot see the corruption, or would like to ignore the corruption, will say, well, it was holding. But that's the point. They make the calls under the circumstances in which it was technically a penalty. But objectively, we all know that there are times that you make those calls and times that you don't. Now, had they been calling ticky-tack things all day long, then, the Philadelphia player had been warned, right? He would know that, man, they ain't letting us get away with anything today, okay? But what happened yesterday was basically the referees let both teams get away with small, minor infractions such as that all day long, which is why the player expected that, they're not going to call this, right? Of course, remember, he has to watch his words. So the film is there, little tiny jersey hug. Of course, it's technically holding. You could have that call 500 times out of 600 plays, okay, on man-to-man coverage. It's just the way the game is played. The flip side of that, for those of you who don't want to believe that Vegas could have that control, or for those of you who don't want to believe that the referees could be corrupted, for those of you who might believe it but really just don't want to talk about it because you make football content, you work for a sports book, maybe a sports book is one of your sponsors, like the guy I was arguing with last night. Like, you got real credibility there, man. At least I'm calling out a sport I cover. He's sponsored by a sports book, and he's arguing with me. But for those of you who want to take that conspiracy theory and throw it in the garbage, okay, fine. There's a solution. There's a solution to there's a way to get people like me saying it's rigged, it's corrupted, it's reinforced. There's a way to get us to shut up. It's very, very simple. Make the referees accountable. Make the referees accountable and available to the media after the game so that people can say, hey, wait a minute. Yeah, I didn't call that all day long. Now you're going to call it. Make these people accountable. Now, is that going to significantly, how much of a difference that would make? I'm not really sure, because when you put something like that into action, you still don't know what the NFL is going to do in terms of telling reporters, you can't say this, you can't ask this. And the point is that the coaches can't say what they want about the referees. The players cannot say what they want about the referees. The media can say what they want, but the referees are not available. Okay, we have no access to the referees whatsoever. There's no accountability. If the people that believe that these referees are completely on the up and up, for those of you who believe that there's no conspiracy, there's no corruption, it's just humans making calls, then why are they such a protected group? Why does the NFL protect them to the extent to where, the player has to go out there and say, yeah, it was holding. So why does the referee not have to go out there and answer the question about why would you make that call right then when you know it gives Kansas City the Super Bowl? Not just any game, but the amount of money being spent, the amount of time that has been invested by people just watching and buying the tickets and paying the TV packages, for it all to come down to a very weak judgment call by one referee that pretty much seals the fate of the game. And you mean we don't even get to ask that person questions as to why they made that call then in that spot? Okay? And we can all guess as to what his responses might be, and he might just give a company line of, it was holding, that was the call. And that might be as good as we get it. But the fact that the NFL protects the referees and hides them from the public, that gives credence to some of these other conspiracy theories like mine that make us feel like this is not on the up and up. This is not on the up and up. Now,